Hello, brothers and sisters. It's a new week. We are very, very happy to welcome you to our show titled Speak of Africa. We are very, very happy, especially with our subscribers and viewers. We've noticed that most of you are listening to our comments, and we're asking you to comment, and we thank you for commenting a lot. We noticed that the last video, you guys did a whole lot of commenting. As you can see, whenever you comment, we respond. We don't ignore you. When we started this channel, the objective was not just to express our views. If that were the case, we would not have started the channel. We would have just stayed at home and listened to our own voices and opinions. But we started this channel because we wanted to give you a voice. We wanted to create an environment where people from Africa can debate each other. They can discuss Africa's problems. Not only discussing Africa's problems, we wanted them to be able to chart a better way forward. The problem Africa faces basically is that we inherited a lot of colonial structures, a lot of colonial institutions. A perfect example in this regard is democracy. Democracy actually is a form of government. It's a government of the people, for the people, and by the people. Democracy did not originate in the United States of America. Democracy did not originate from Great Britain. In fact, democracy dates back to ancient Greece. Those who have read history, demokratia, people governing, that's the Greek term for democracy. A government that the people are governing, it is for the benefit of the people. The people, by the people means the people are the ones handling everything. Of the people, it belongs to the people. But this form of government is a colonial contraption. So far, when you look at what is happening in Africa, it's telling us that this form of government does not work. When you take the contraption of democracy, then you affix it on the fragility or the weakness of the nation state, which is a colonial institution. You get all the repercussions you're getting today. When you look at the news this week, it's telling you that the contagion of coup d'etat continues. It's like a flu. It's flu season. This season of anomie, it will continue for a very long time. We'll continue having more coup d'etats, more coup d'etats. What's the solution? We've said before, the solution is we have to reinvent our government. We have to rethink the way we govern ourselves. So this is the debate we want to engage with you, and we want you to participate. Don't be silent. Don't be a spectator. Contribute your ideas. I do not have the solutions. I'm simply proposing ideas, and I'm asking you to think. You are a human being. You are not an animal. So think. That's what we want you to do. So that's the purpose of this show. We want you to think and come up with solutions. Spend more time commenting on the video that we're uploading on YouTube. We want to know what you're thinking. Then we'll share your thoughts with other viewers. This is how Africa can move forward. Okay? So when we begin the show of today, we want to go to the COP28, which is the UN Climate Conference, which is taking place in the United Arab Emirates in Dubai. Okay? This conference is taking place conspicuously. Joe Biden, the President of the United States of America, is absent. Xi Jinping, the President of the Republic of China, is absent. So these are two conspicuous absences. Some of the biggest economies in the world are not participating in this conference on global warming. Okay? So it makes the UN a dysfunctional organization. Because if America, one of the biggest market, is not supporting a movement towards a reduction in the effects of fossil fuels and a need for greener energy, what's going to happen? So most of these two countries, America, they are the biggest polluters in the world. China is the biggest polluter in the world. China has just started its own industrial revolution. So they are polluting, and they don't want anybody to tell them not to pollute the environment. America had the industrial revolution a long time ago. In fact, a lot of manufacturing in America is taking place in other countries. So America chooses not to pollute their own country that much, but take the pollution somewhere else. So that's what is really happening. So when you look at this, it's be more like a form of climate apartheid. That's what I think the granddaughter of Nelson Mandela was saying today in South Africa, talking about climate apartheid, the big nations. The big nations are supposed to help because actually, from the statistics that we saw, it looks like the carbon emissions from Africa are probably like 4%. But Africa feels the brunt of global warming. When you look at countries like Kenya, Senegal, South Africa, a lot of issues. You deal with drought, floods, Congo DRC, all these countries in Africa are feeling the brunt of global warming. So global warming is not just a fluke. It's not just an intellectual exercise. It's a real problem people in Africa are facing. In addition to insecurity, which we're going to talk about a lot today. So global warming is at the center of Africa's problems. If we have to progress, if we have to develop, we need to go through the same stages that the other nations have gone, especially the developed nations. Most of them started by having an agrarian economy. Later, this agrarian economy morphed into an industrial economy. Today, the big nations like the United States, they have transitioned now to an information or a post-information economy. A post-information economy is an economy in which information becomes a commodity. Information becomes a service. That's what we mean. In an agrarian economy, the product is the raw materials. In industrial economy, factories start making products. That's what happens. Europe probably was the sitting where we had the Industrial Revolution, right? That's where we had the Industrial Revolution. So most of the African countries are saying that they need time to create their own Industrial Revolution, but they are not polluting the environment that much. Yet the effects of pollution are coming to Africa, and Africa is dealing with it. What do we do next? Well, Africa is hampered by the fact that they don't really have the wealth. Their wealth is stolen by the industrial countries. They have a lot of raw materials, but the industrial countries take their raw materials for free. Or they corrupt the elite, the political elite in these African countries and take these raw materials for free. So Africa does not really have power when they sit at the table. Like now, we have this conference in Dubai, the United Arab Emirates, which is taking place now. So Africans don't really have any clout. So they are just sitting and complaining. You cannot sit and complain like a beggar. The rich industrialized nations are calling the shots. So Africans need to rethink their position. They need to start thinking about self-reliance, full sovereignty. And I think those are some of the issues that we are addressing today. Sovereignty. We need to have our full sovereignty. We need to tackle the people who make it difficult for Africa to enjoy full sovereignty. It's not only the colonial masters. We've told you, Africa's biggest problem is not just the colonial master. Africa's biggest problem is the colonial elite. People who were groomed by the colonial masters as presidents, they took over and they're running the country. They do things to serve the colonial master, not for the benefit of the average African. That needs to change. And that's what we're saying in this video. It needs to change. Let's look at Amazonia, where we're going to start our show today. In Amazonia, because the people are unhappy, because they are marginalized, because they had an independence that did not materialize, they are suffering. When they started proclaiming the need for their own self-determination, Colonial Paul Biya started sending his thugs, the bee, who were trained by the Jews in Israel. Aaron Moaz, that's the guy who who runs the bee, makes a lot of millions. You can see his mansions in America using blood money from Cameroon. But the people who are suffering, they are refugees. So Aaron Moaz needs to see all of this to know that the money he's enjoying in America and in Israel comes from the blood of a lot of Cameroonians and Amazonians. Okay? And that's what is happening. You can see over 17,000 refugees from Ambazonia are finding themselves in Taraba State in Nigeria. We've said this before. We still got more information that there are more refugees leaving Ambazonia to Nigeria. Especially Taraba State is really the state that is welcoming a lot of these refugees. And you know, there are also issues with Boko Haram. So it's not just the war in Ambazonia that is fueling this refugee crisis. The Boko Haram crisis in the north of La République du Cameroon is also fueling the mass exodus of people from La République du Cameroon to Nigeria. So those are the things that are causing a lot of these displacements. But climate change is also a big culprit. A lot of people were dispossessed because of floods. They were displaced. They could not live in their homes. Cyclones. They have been causing a lot of problems. So these problems can be solved if Africans start thinking about their own problems. They come up with solutions. It's true. Rome was not built in a day. Africans are not going to solve these problems in a day. It will take time. But they need to start. They need to start with a rule of law, a country where democracy needs to be reinvented. The Catholic Church was complaining the other day that they don't support coup d'etats. But what the Catholic Church is not doing, I'm a Catholic, and I'll criticize my church. What the Catholic Church is not doing, they are not challenging the dictators who are taking power from the people, and they don't want the people to have a voice. Why is the Catholic Church not making a concerted effort to criticize these dictators? Now they are criticizing dictators. So that shows you that the church itself is not serious. The church should have moral authority to criticize these dictators who are sit-tight. They are the cause of the fragility of most of these governments. And this is why the rule of law is not really taking root in Ambazonia and La République du Cameroon. Because the nation state by itself is a colonial contraption. It's very weak. It's very fragile. The big guy, the strong man, usurps all the power, okay? He hijacks the country apparatus, the military apparatus, so he has all the guns. He kills people who are against him. As a result, he monopolizes power. Then the other people too are not happy. Because they are not happy, they say, okay, we're going to seize power from this guy. That's the rationale for a lot of the coup d'etats that are taking place. So when you have a place where there's no rule of law, the country becomes a fertile ground for coup d'etats. So don't feel bad that, oh, so many coups are happening now. Of course, La République du Cameroon is waiting for its own coup. Why not? Because this country now is just like a rumor mill, radio trottoir. The government doesn't want the people to know a lot of what is happening, so it creates room for rumors. In fact, this week, some of you sent us a lot of information from La République du Cameroon showing that there's been a cabinet reshuffle. Because for a long time, the people have been waiting for a cabinet reshuffle. They're not getting it. They feel like, okay, what's going to happen? So they created their own list of a cabinet reshuffle. We're thinking that this is true, but it turns out that it's radio trottoir, which means it's a rumor of fake news. Fake news takes place in an environment where they don't want information to circulate. So people feel that vacuum. That news cycle needs information. So it is filled by rumors. And that's what is happening now. You can see a list of the new people who have been appointed in Paul Biya's new cabinet. Dion Gute has been kicked out. Okay. He has been replaced by Atanganji, who is the Minister of Territorial Administration. Then, of course, on the defense side, Biya Frank Emmanuel, the son of the president, has been nominated as the Minister of Defense. We're thinking that this is really a true cabinet reshuffle. But this is the cabinet reshuffle that the people got just from hearsay. They say, oh, we just heard from the presidency that this is the information. So we just leak this information so that you can know what is happening. So this is what the Biya folks are planning to do, to come up with a new cabinet reshuffle. But because Mr. Biya himself is disjointed and disoriented, not much has been done. So people are just waiting. So it's just like you're waiting for Godot. When is God going to come? You're waiting for God to come and make a decision. The same thing happens. Even with this week, we heard about this Martinez Zogo case. This is the famous journalist of Radio Amplitude who was killed. The suspects were Jean-Pierre Amogu Belinga, and Eko, the guy of DGRST. These two guys were in prison because they had probable cause that they were the killers of these famous journalists. Then rumors started circulating in the capital on Friday, saying that these two guys, the culprits, have been released. And it turns out that the information is fake news. So fake news will happen in this society because they don't allow information to circulate from official channels. So unofficial channels start filling the void. So a lot of this information we hear comes from the presidency of La République du Cameroun. So people are circulating, oh, this is what the president and his people are saying. But that's not official. So because of pressure from the street, the president and his people have to send people to come and say, oh no, all what you guys had is fake news. Don't believe it. Fake news will continue because there's a weakness. Burkina Faso, yes, a lot is happening in Burkina Faso. Burkina Faso is partnering with Mali and Niger to form a federation. We talked about the alliance last week. Things are going forward. The G5, which was the anti-jihadist military movement run by France, has been kicked aside. They don't want it. So they feel that they should enjoy their full sovereignty. They don't want France to be controlling anything military. What Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger are saying is that they don't really see the positive impact of French involvement in their countries. Instead, France is using their country as a place where they can spy and collect resources. France has not really helped the war on jihadists. In fact, Mali and Burkina Faso are claiming that they themselves are getting better results by fighting on their own terms. We're telling them, it's a positive idea if you guys are thinking of a federation. Don't just think about it as a short-term convenience. Look at it more like an institution you want to create so that eventually we can lead to a United States of Africa where you have an African parliament. This African parliament makes decisions so that in every country you can have a president who is just like a nominal figure, okay? This will help Africa a whole lot. But when you have dictators, every dictator does what he wants. If you have a United States of Africa where all the countries come together, then they have the AU, the African Union, should be functioning like the African Parliament, where the people decide. Then the army should be for the people, not for the dictator. Right now, in most African countries, the army is for the dictator, which is why you see a lot of coup d'etats taking place, because whenever a branch of the army is dissatisfied with the leader, they want to kick him out. And you can see this happening in other countries.
Tired of waiting in long lines at the emergency room or your doctor's office? You should be. Why wait in long lines for care? It's time for you to come to Lucille Urgent Care. Real care, no waiting. Lucille Urgent Care, the best place for true and loving care. Service at Lucille Urgent Care is convenient, fast, time efficient, affordable, accessible, transparent, and cost effective. Royal treatment is your right. Indeed, it's not just a privilege or pejorative. Skip the emergency room's long lines, kiss the ER goodbye, say farewell to your old doctor's office, pay less, save time, enjoy the excitement of convenience, receive immediate treatment, get the healthcare you need quickly and affordably. Lucille Urgent Care offers many express services: rapid COVID-19 testing, on-site prescription, preventative lab services, imaging and x-rays, urgent medical treatment for common illnesses and injuries, routine vaccines and flu shots, work-related injury services, pre-employment, occupational, annual, and sports physicals, immigration exams, and much more. Same-day treatment, rapid lab results, extended hours, weekend hours, no appointment necessary, no insurance necessary, no doctor necessary, walk-ins accepted, telemedicine available. We are open 7 days a week with evening and weekend hours. We are located in Maryland. Lucille Urgent Care, 903 Half York Road, Towson, Maryland, 21204. Website, lucilleuc.com. Call at 443-275-1286 or 301-593-4897.
Congo DRC, we're still looking at the elections. They're still fighting in the east. Martin Fayulu and Denis Mukwege, Dr. Mukwege, they are trying to form a partnership so that they can run against Felix Tshisekedi. Then what about Gabon? We hear in Gabon, Brice Ngema is making plans to make people legitimize him as a military leader. And he's succeeding because he's been flying from one capital to another. The only place that has not invited him is his neighbor, Cameroon. What is Paul Biya afraid of? It looks like Paul Biya doesn't want to deal with Brice Clotaire Oligui Nguema. You can see in some of the pictures when Omar Bongo used to sit with Biya, Brice Oligui Nguema was sitting behind Biya because he was the aide-de-camp of Omar Bongo. So Biya cannot really imagine that this guy who used to be a boy is now a leader like him. But that's reality. Next, the coup d'etat is coming to Cameroon. Guinea-Bissau, big time. Attempted coup d'etat took place in Guinea-Bissau. Why? Because of bad governance. But bad governance is fertile ground for coup d'etats. We've said this many times to you, and you need to understand. When there is good governance, you're not going to have coup d'etats because the people feel that they participate in the government. When there's bad governance, this is what happens. So coup d'etats will always happen. In Guinea-Bissau, it just happened on Friday. Sisako Ambalo, who is the president, his presidential palace was attacked. Soldiers were running up and down. Oh, we've arrested the coup leaders. But coups will continue. That's not the first coup in Guinea-Bissau. Then what about Sierra Leone? We talked to you about Sierra Leone, and we told that there was an attempted coup d'etat. The barracks were breached, and the armory also was breached. So people were looking for weapons to overthrow the government of Julius Maada Bio. Remember, Maada Bio was a coup leader. Now he became a civilian president. But the politics is still not good in Sierra Leone because the factions are still there, tribalism is still there, and they're fighting for power. We end our show today by going to Nigeria.
Do you need tax preparation services? We can help. Contact PJ Tax Service, America's only full-time income tax preparers. Like the good old doctor, we do not close our doors after April 15th. In fact, we stay open all year round in order to serve you. We are located at 11207A, Lockwood Drive, Silver Spring, Maryland, 20901. Make an appointment today with Prince Ojong, your tax expert. Call 240-350-1131 or visit us on the web at www.pjtaxservice.com.
We praise Bola Tinubu for most of the initiatives he's taking to help his country. He's an old guy, but we think he's really making an effort from the lethargic Buhari. The big thing, we talk about global warming. Bola Tinubu is taking steps. We saw a lot of greener vehicles, buses, electric buses, that is introducing the new wave of a greener Nigeria, which means there will be less global warming. He's taking the initiative, and we applaud that initiative. On the security front, Bola Tinubu also is bringing a lot more people in the army so that they can fight the problem with insecurity. So we'll appreciate these initiatives. At least Nigeria has a new president who is not just sleeping and letting the country run on autopilot. He may not be a perfect president, but he's making some effort. So that's what we need to applaud. We need to applaud the effort of Bola Tinubu. He may not be perfect, but he's doing the right thing. And if Nigerians support him, we think the next 4 years will be positive for Nigeria, and Nigeria will see some changes. So we've come to the end of our show, but we have a lot of information that we want to share with you. If you've watched this far, next week we're going to come up with a lot of ideas that can help you as an African to start a little business and do well with it. You may even be in Dubai, in China. We'll show you how to take advantage of your personal computer to make money so that you can survive. Then take this money back to Africa and build Africa. Thank you very much. May God bless you.
Now more than ever, it is critical that medical facilities utilize modern, reliable electronic health records. Introducing Alexia HTC, the innovative, affordable online solution for physicians and patients. Doctors' visits, diagnoses, prescriptions, and billing have never been easier. With Alexia HTC, you can work more efficiently with the integrated flexibility medical professionals need today. Schedule a live demonstration. Call or visit us at alexiahtc.com.
Do you need tax preparation services? We can help. Contact PJ Tax Service, America's only full-time income tax preparers. Like the good old doctor, we do not close our doors after April 15th. In fact, we stay open all year round in order to serve you. We are located at 11207A, Lockwood Drive, Silver Spring, Maryland, 20901. Make an appointment today with Prince Ojong, your tax expert. Call 240-350-1131 or visit us on the web at www.pjtaxservice.com.
Selling a service or a product? Need buyers? Use the African Nation TV as a channel to reach many viewers. Act now and call Prince Ojong at 240-350-1131. That's 240-350-1131. Act today.